Hello dear viewers. A while ago I thought it might be a fun and interesting idea to start making videos about my game development process. Both for myself to have something along the lines of an archive of my process and thoughts during my game development journey, and as a way to help, teach, and maybe inspire some others who are currently doing or thinking of doing game development as well. What you see me playing in the background is Collectamon, a game I released in early access about 2 years ago. I had a lot of fun making it, although it being quite stressful at times. This first video will serve as a bit of an introduction to the Collectamon project. Now there's a few things I'd like to talk about, those being how I started working on Collectamon, how I came up with the concept, how the concept slowly evolved during the game development process, and how I managed to finish and release the game on Steam, the tools I used during development, and my plans for the future. The story starts at the time when I was still studying game development. I had just entered my 4th and final year of my studies, and had the absolutely amazing idea to create an action RPG. All on my own. Although I already had worked on this idea for a while on the side, it was still an enormous undertaking, one I somewhat succeeded at during the first semester of this 4th year. The gameplay you see in the background is from the final build I made that semester, and I'm still quite proud of it, to be honest. It had 2 bosses, a very basic randomly generated mission system, about 6 enemy types, and an equipment and leveling system, and felt quite good to play. The second and final semester rolled around, and I had to decide on a graduation project. I could choose, start a new project or continue work on the action RPG I was working on. I decided to continue work on my ARPG. Meanwhile, during the bit of free time I had beside my studies, I started another small project with my girlfriend at the time, just for fun. This project didn't have a name yet, but in a nutshell, it was a weird mix of Vampire Survivors and Pokemon. Details about this I'll get into later. Skip ahead 2 months. I'm behind my desk in a small office provided to me by my college, working on my ARPG. The fun around working on this had already faded a while ago. It being an ARPG, it needed quite a few features to be a truly good experience, or at least it had to in the vision I had for it. So I had added one, and another one, and another one,
and another one.
Nearly every feature I added needed another system or complementary feature to make it work. It was, at this moment, the feature creep had added up. Too much, and I was feeling it. I vividly remember sitting there with my head in my hands, saying to myself, this will never be finished. Luckily, I remembered another project I was working on. One that I did still enjoy working on. And most importantly, one that didn't have such a ridiculously large scope, especially for a relatively inexperienced solo developer. A creature collecting game, to be specific. I noticed that week I couldn't get the side project out of my mind. While sluggishly working on the ARPG, I at some point decided to continue work on the creature collecting game. Eventually I pivoted. With a little less than 4 months to go in the semester, I decided to change my graduation project to be the creature collecting game, the game that is now Collectamon. Let's go back a bit. I'll tell you about how the concept of Collectamon came to be. At the time I was playing a lot of Vampire Survivors, thoroughly enjoying collecting all the achievements it kept adding with every update. I had also played a few games that took the Vampire Survivors concept and put their own spin on it. I remember watching a video on what made Vampire Survivors so good. The conclusion this video reached was that it takes advantage of some cognitive biases humans have with numbers, especially numbers going up in an exponential fashion. It got me thinking, what else makes it good? And what game design lessons can be learned from it? There was one thing I observed, something I found particularly interesting. It was that it seemed to take an already existing game formula, took something at the core of that gameplay experience, and built this out into a compact game loop. In the case of Vampire Survivors, it was Diablo, or any other progression-based ARPG for that matter. The core of the game is basically kill increasingly strong, increasingly numerous hordes of monsters while improving your character along the way, scaling along with the growing monster strength and numbers. It took this idea and compressed it down into a 30-minute experience with lots of replayability, instead of having to grind for hours to experience the exponential curve your character's power is on. You get it in a 30-minute roguelite session. Whether this was done intentionally or not, it was quite a smart approach to make games in my opinion. Especially for solo developers, as the compact nature of such a game makes it take way less resources to develop. A thought crossed my mind. what other games can be compressed like this? Eventually, I thought about Pokemon. What was one of the most essential things about the Pokemon experience? It wasn't even battling, although that is really fun. It's in their catchphrase, catching them all. In other words, collecting them and completing your collection. This is what's at the core of Collectamon. Collecting all monsters, just like in Pokemon, and using the Vampire Survivors approach of scaling the strength and amount of monsters to keep players in that upward exponential trajectory. At the time I started working on Collectamon, I was also playing a lot of Path of Exile and listening to podcasts while I did my relatively mindless grinding. I loved it. Listening to podcasts is something I also did while achievement hunting in Vampire Survivors, and it's something I also wanted players to be able to do while playing Collectamon. Either that or watching a video. Something that doesn't necessarily require 100% of your attention. Keeping this in mind, it needed to be a chill experience. One that wasn't too punishing. I designed around this. No battles, no damage, but rather net strength. No monsters attacking you. Just a relaxing experience, capturing monsters, upgrading and completing your collection. One thing that is also important to mention before moving on is that I had learned from my experience creating an ARPG. Content creep is something that can easily happen in any game development project, and something I set out to avoid with this one. Not only due to the impending deadline in 4 months, but also for my own sanity. I wanted to finally finish a game and actually publish it. Something I had not done yet despite having worked on tens of game projects over the previous years. To make sure the project wouldn't endlessly expand in scope, I needed to have a plan. I created a Miro board and thought about what a reasonable scope would be. In these 4 months, I wanted to have all the basic systems set up. Things like spawning, controlling your character, upgrades, achievements, saving progress, an area system, and some other miscellaneous things. Content-wise, I wanted a single upgradable area with 15 monsters to catch and evolve. Character upgrades, achievements, and a sanctuary to put your monsters in. I also wanted all this to feel like a polished experience where people had genuine fun playing it. So I got to work setting all these things up, keeping in mind I wanted it to remain as simple as possible. I told my then girlfriend to keep the art simple as well. No sprite-based animations, just a simple generic hopping animation that could be slightly tweaked for all monsters. Any cool ideas would be put on the Miro board to maybe be explored at a later point. At this point, the sanctuary was giving me a bit of trouble design-wise. I wanted it to be like an aquarium, an old PopCap game where you would manage an aquarium with money-dropping fish. The Collectamon would drop currency and you would walk over them to pick it up. It felt really cool, but at the same time it would cause a lot of clutter. Besides clutter, keeping in mind saving progress and the systems I had already set up, it was quite annoying to implement. I tried to have the monsters just hold their currency and you clicking on them would make you collect it. This was annoying as well, because they were moving all the time. That's when I reluctantly decided to create a building system. It really felt like this was the right move, even though it slightly expanded the scope. You could build habitats and put them in a sanctuary. The monsters would stay in the habitats, and you could click on these to open a menu where you could manage the habitat and collect the currency the monsters held. You could even upgrade the buildings to increase their capacity, adding another layer of upgrades to the game. Besides this, I thought people might enjoy building their own sanctuary, eventually also decorating it when I would add buildable decorations. I continued working on it, all the while testing a lot, both with other students at my college and friends. They seemed to enjoy the gameplay loop, and every week people seemed to be having more fun with it, having increasingly longer sessions. While at the beginning I aimed for a 15-minute session after 4 months of development, I quickly noticed people enjoying it a lot longer than that. 3 months in, I let a few friends of mine play the game. At that point, it had all the 15 monsters and the sanctuary, including the building system. To catch and evolve all the monsters, it would take about an hour of playing. I knew from testing the game myself. I asked my friends to play the game and put it down when they didn't feel like playing anymore. To my surprise, they didn't put it down. A few times during the session, I told them repeatedly that they should stop if they didn't enjoy it anymore, to which they answered, "No, we're still having fun." My 3 friends played the game for 1.5 hours, catching and evolving all the monsters, passing the controls to each other a few times while doing so. They played for a bit longer than usual, because besides catching the monsters they were also having fun with random other stuff in the game. Things like spending way too much money on a net size upgrade, which kept increasing in cost and didn't yield that much return in how fast you caught the monsters anymore, just to see how big it would get. All the while, the other 3 of us were just watching and actually enjoying it. I kept working on the game and testing it, and the long playtimes kept showing up, even during a showcase I did that was part of my graduation project. It was basically an exposition of all graduation projects with lots of students, ex-students and teachers walking around, playing everyone's games. People stuck around to play for half an hour or more, all the while saying, just a bit more and then I'll go see some other projects. Now the goal I set out for the game as a graduation project was to release it to Steam Early Access. I was not able to make this in time, but despite that, was able to graduate with it. I spent most of my summer vacation post-graduation on actually getting the game on Early Access, and I did. I also had to come up with a name under which I would publish the game. I had noticed sometime earlier that there weren't enough grappling hooks in games. They're always so much fun, and yet there's not many games that have them. So I named my company, well, as far as you can call it a company, Grappling Hook Games, with the thought of adding a grappling hook in every game I publish somehow. Something I have yet to do for Collectamon as well. On 25th of August, 2023, I published my first game on Steam. I honestly can't believe it's been this long already. It's something I'm really proud of, and I'm still working on it as well. The thought of doing a devlog has been on my mind for a long time as well already, and I'm glad I finally got around to it. I think that's a nice point to end the first devlog as well. I'll continue the story and we'll share some more in-depth parts of development in the next videos. If you're interested in the game, I put a link to it in the description. There's a free demo available to try it. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Until the next video. Hope you have an awesome day, and hope to see you soon.